So I'm going to be showing you how you can set up sidechain compression and why it might be useful. Okay, so we've got a little demo project, a few parts dragged in from some old tracks that I've bounced down from here in sample library, and some other recycled samples and some really nice uh, extended kind of jazzy chords from a sample pack I got my hands on recently. So this is what it sounds like at the moment. Okay, so what I'm going to do is set up sidechain compression from the kick to impact these chords we've got here. So what we'll be doing is using this part to trigger the sidechain. Sidechain can often be referred to as the key input as well. So first things first, going to duplicate that track and copy the MIDI. So at the moment this will be exactly the same, just so you could hear. Okay, then we are going to turn off the output. So put it as no output. Okay, and instead of putting it no output, actually we're going to send it to an unused bus. So we'll go for bus 10. Okay, so now all of that signal you will hear going, well, you'll see it going through bus 10, a bit of a solo, you shouldn't be able to hear it. Oh, sorry, actually, I need to just make sure that's got no output as well. So there we can see on the meter that it's going through bus 10 into this auxiliary track that's been set up, but we can't hear it. So that signal is just going to be used to trigger the compressor on the other track. So I'm just going to label this SC for sidechain and kick. So that's our key input. Okay, then over on our chords, I'm going to take a compressor, and then up here we've got the little input for the sidechain, or the key input, and we can see there I went out through bus 10. Just so you know, bus 2 is being used just so I can hear myself when I'm making these videos. So just ignore that. Okay, and then I've got a little preset set up for sidechain kick, and I'll just talk you through what I've got and why I've got it. Okay, so the threshold at the moment is all the way up. So to actually get any compression, what I'll need to do is pull this down. I've got a ratio of 10 to 1. Normally you want quite aggressive compression when you're using sidechain, so we've gone for a high ratio. I'd never ever dream of using 10 to 1 just for compressing a track normally. Makeup gain set to 0, auto gain off, so I don't want to make it any louder. Okay, I'm not using any distortion, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. The knee, I've got turned right up, so the knee is essentially how quickly, once the compressor starts compressing, it will get to its maximum point of compression. I've got the attack on 0.5 of a millisecond. So what the attack is how long it will take the compressor from when the sound passes the threshold to snap down and push the level down. So a shorter attack will give us less of an attack in our actual sound, but when we have a longer attack it lets some of the initial hit come through. Okay, but because we're using in sidechain mode, I want it to be really quick and similar with the release. Now we can obviously adapt all of these controls to taste, but I've just created this as a starting point and saved it as sidechain kick because it's one of the things that I use the Logic compressor for a lot. And the reason I use the Logic compressor over all the other compressors I've got, which is a lot, is it's got this Platinum Digital preset has got a very clean sound. It doesn't try and emulate any old vintage equipment which might have added kind of harmonics to the sound to give it a vintage sound. So all of these ones, like this is an emulation of a Focusrite. This is an emulation of an 1176. This is an emulation of a DBX 160. This is the SSL bus compressor. This is a new, different 1176. And then this is more the kind of LA2A style compression. Don't worry about what they all are at the moment, but just know that if you want something nice and clean when you're compressing, then this is the one to go to. If you want something that's going to add a bit of character, then worth experimenting with the other compression types. Okay, let's have a listen to what it sounds like when we start compressing. Okay, so I've gone for something quite extreme there so you can hear the effect. Now what we can do is if we just solo the sidechain and solo the track that we're going to actually have the compression on, in this case the chords, we can just hear the effect without any of the other instrumentation. I'm going to turn the compressor off now and you can hear it how it originally was. And with the rest of the track. Okay, so that's how we could set it up on some chords. I'm going to show you it with this hi-hat loop. So this is bounced out of another track of mine. I always like to recycle samples because I've spent a lot of time processing them. So rather than doing it again, I use that as the starting point. And every generation I'm getting more and more, unique with it. So I'm actually going to sidechain this off this kick drum as well. So I don't need to duplicate it because I've already got a copy. Okay, it's output into bus 10. Bus 10 is the input of this auxiliary track. I need to make sure still that that's on no outputs. I'm going to label that actually sidechain kick. And then I'm going to go about adding a compressor to this channel. So go to my compressor and I'm going to choose my preset and let's have a listen to what the hi-hat sound like compressed from the kick. Okay, so just to hear that in context. So it's a bit more subtle there, but it's just allowing the kick to punch through. So why would we use sidechain compression? One, it helps instruments to sound louder and cut through the mix. So it can be really helpful if you're mixing kick drums and bass and both instruments occur at the same time. It will help the kick drum punch through without noticeably really affecting the bass too much. It helps us to preserve headroom, which is really important for creating masters that can be worked with by pre-masters that can be worked with mastering engineers. So you don't want you to ever be turning the stereo out down on the output of Logic or any other DAW for that matter. You want effective headroom. A lot of mastering engineers ask for masters that don't peak above minus 6 dB on here. Okay, so keep a lookout for that. And yeah, it can also help just add rhythm to things that don't have much rhythm. So obviously this chord progression does sound lovely. Really nice chords, but it does lack a bit of rhythm. So if I'm making something where I want people to move to it, then it's really worth experimenting with sidechain compression. I hope this has been helpful, and thanks for listening.